What's up, people? It's me again. So today I've decided to share with all you people out there watching at home a story of my sort of latest trip to the New York City subway. And it was okay because first of all, I didn't get confronted, and second of all, I actually got the shots that I needed to get that day. So, pretty much, yeah, like I said, it was an okay day. That day, yeah, I didn't film the R179. And one thing, like I said, I'm not sure if I just said this, but I'm going to say it again. Today's July 6th, 2017. I don't know when this video will go up. I'll try to get it up probably next week. And this trip was on June 25th, 2017. So yeah, like I said, the only thing I was upset about during that trip is I didn't get to shoot a video of the R179 testing on the Brighton line. But that's okay, because they'll be in service in September, and I'm looking forward to riding them on the A line. Because C line, yeah, it's got 8 cars, but I wanted to see the R179, a new technology train running via 8th Avenue Express. So without further ado, let me introduce to you, all you people out there, episode 5 of my Storytime series on YouTube, which is known as the MTA New York City Subway Storytime with me, AaronTheEagle1 series. So it all starts when I get on my train to go to New York City. And I wanted to go, since I didn't get much sleep the night prior, I wanted to get some extra sleep, take a nap in one of the cars. So I decided to go to the first car because, number one, I like the first car, and number two, it's a designated quiet car. So I decided to sit there because that's actually, and also, number three, it's the closest to the stairwell that will lead me upstairs from the tracks to go to the lobby. And I sit there. Initially it was quiet, and I did enjoy the silence. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and enjoy it while it lasts. And then when we pull into the next station, I realize, why are those people wearing LGBTQ clothing? Why are they wearing rainbows? Why are the guys dressed up as girls? Why vice versa? Why is that happening? Then I realized today was the LGBTQ parade. By today I mean June 25th, just so you know. I was like, oh shoot, today is the LGBTQ parade. I forgot. I remember my parents told me that there was a parade today, but it just completely slipped my mind. So once the doors open, people immediately flood the entire subway car, and they wouldn't stop talking. I tried to close my eyes and not sleep, just close my eyes, take a nap for a little while because I wanted to, be revitalized for my New York City subway excursion. But it didn't work. I tried putting my headphones on, listening to some calming, soothing music. I still could hear their voices talking really loud. And it was a designated quiet car too, and they still wouldn't shut up. And then the conductor comes in. He checks my ticket, then he checks all their tickets. I'm pretty sure he knew it was a designated quiet car, but he didn't say anything because, number one, there was too many of them, and number two, he didn't want to infringe on their right to have a conversation. So that was it for that. I also noticed one thing. Now listen closely. I'm not going to repeat myself. I want you all to understand. I have nothing against homosexuals, heterosexuals, of course I don't, transgenders, all that yada yada yada. I do not have anything against the LGBTQ community. I'm just saying, on that train, there was one kid, about my age. He was a guy. He had a tiara on. He had sparkles near his eyes. He also had short shorts, I believe. I saw because I had to pick up his phone when he dropped it. And I didn't have to pick up his phone. I was just trying to be a nice person. Pick up his phone, give it back to him. And he was wearing regular sneakers just like me. But the only thing that was feminine of his clothing was pretty much the tiara and the sparkles around the eyes. Now let me tell you something. Like I said, I have nothing against the LGBTQ community. I'm just saying, sometimes you have those people that take it a little bit too far with the type of clothing they wear or the type of outfits they wear. But that's just my opinion. Everybody is entitled to dress however they choose, all that stuff. So if it really makes you happy, go for it. I don't care. Whatever makes you happy, that's your problem, not mine. Because that's you. Whatever makes you happy, that's your preference, not mine. But, like I said, whatever makes you happy, just go for it. That's all there is to it. Okay, so fast forward an hour and 20 minutes later, we arrive into Penn Station. And I had to wait at least 5 minutes before I could leave my seat because everyone from the front was cutting me off. I was like, dude, what the hell? Why don't you wait your turn? Let me go first. But guess not. Oh, the LGBTQ parade's running away. It's going on all day. I'm pretty sure of that. And besides, it's a good parade, but it's gonna go on all day. Not everybody was going to the parade though. I actually wanted to go on my Railfanning excursion, and I remember there was this one girl, this one woman. She brought it into her family. She sat, since there was not enough seats, they all had to be separate. Mother had to sit with somebody else. One daughter had to sit with somebody else. One of her sons, her youngest son, I believe, sat next to me. I forget about the other children. They sat somewhere else. Yada, 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 yada. And then once the train pulls into New York Penn Station, the kid is like, I'm going to be rich, and I'm going to buy my mom a Ferrari, or I think it was Maserati. And then the other woman was encouraging him. And that really made me happy too. You always have to aim high. If you aim high, believe in yourself, you can do anything. And then his sister, the kid who sat next to me, who said he would buy his mom a Maserati, all those expensive cars, she took a picture with the dude, and I was like, is he like a celebrity or something? Because if he is, I've never heard of him. Maybe she liked what he was wearing. I don't know. I'm just, like I said, I don't even know why I said that, but I don't care. Maybe he is a celebrity. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I've never heard of the dude. I've never seen him before in my life, but who cares? Maybe it's because she liked his clothing, the stuff he was wearing. Maybe that was the reason. Anyways, that's not important. I get off at Penn Station. First thing I do, walk to the bathroom because I really had to pee. So I went to one of the men's restrooms in Penn Station. The first men's restroom was extremely crowded, and the bathrooms were so disgusting, and they stunk so bad. So I had to go from that bathroom to another bathroom. That bathroom smelled of sweat from the bums and other stuff I do not really want to mention. All the stuff that goes on in the bathrooms, you know what I mean. They really need to put bathroom exhaust fans in there, because seriously, ugh. I hate using city bathrooms, but I guess what are you gonna do if there's no proper bathroom to use? You have to use that one, right? So I went there. I used the bathroom, went all the way to the 8th Avenue platforms because I had to take the E train to go to Queens in order to film the IRT Flushing line. Yeah, I was going to say Flushing Avenue. I was like, what the hell? What's Flushing Avenue? Anyways, I walk down the stairs. I walk to the left because that's where 8th Avenue is. I walk up the steps. I already hear a train coming into the station. I was like, oh no, that better not be my E train, or else I'm going to miss it. I'm going to have to wait like 10 or 20 minutes for the next one. But thankfully, it wasn't. It was an R32. And at that point, I was like, oh, it's a C train. Because, first of all, if it was an A train, it would be on the other side, on the express track. And it cannot possibly be an E train, because E train, the R32s, E trains don't have R32s anymore. So C train comes in. Once I swipe my card, the turnstile unlocks, C train departs. 5 or 10 minutes later, the announcer goes, ladies and gentlemen, the next uptown local train is now arriving. That's not very specific. Generic, what's it called? Generic airport lady announcer. That's not very specific. Because every single time you go to an airport, you hear her voice. The same lady who announces, ladies and gentlemen, the next uptown local train. If it was Bernie Wagenblast, it would be, there is an uptown local C train to 168th Street. Approaching the station, please stand away from the platform edge. That's just a sample. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't know why I said I'm not saying. Okay, so I wait another 5 or 10 minutes. The train approaching the station was an R160. So I was like, oh, finally, my E train has arrived. I think it was about 7 minutes later. Boy, was I wrong. It was another C train. Both of them, of course, were headed to 168th Street. I believe the parade must be on Central Park West. That's why there's so many C trains and A trains. 10 minutes later, 10 minutes exactly, the E train rolls in. I walk on, and immediately my eyes start burning. Actually, my eyes were actually burning while I was in the station because my eyelids were so dry because I always rubbed them so much that every single time I closed my eyes, they would burn, and they would burn bad. So I had to stand up until Lexington Avenue 53rd Street. I finally got a chance to sit down, and right as the doors were closing at Lexington Avenue 53rd Street, two guys thought it was appropriate to squeeze onto the train as if that was the last ever train to go to Queens. So here, let me do some role play since I have some time. The doors are closing. Stand clear of the closing doors, please. Oh no, that's the last ever train to Queens. I almost said Brooklyn. That's the last ever train to Queens. I better open these doors. I better hold everybody up. I gotta catch the last ever train to Queens. And he squeezes open the doors and then slides his ass in. Come on, man. You probably look like you're going to the skater park or something like the skate park. The skate park's gonna be open for a long time. Wait 5 minutes. Take the next E train. Don't delay everybody just because you have to go somewhere irrelevant. Wait for the next E train. Take 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes out of your day for another E train. Be patient. And if you miss the train, that's on you. That's not on anybody. That's not on the train operator. You weren't here on time, so it is what it is. Anyways, the two guys squeeze in. I was like, what the hell? Didn't anybody teach you common sense? Don't squeeze in through the doors. If the doors are closing, either back up or just, like I said, don't board the train at all. Simple as that. So we get ready to depart Lexington Avenue 53rd Street to go to Queens. No, yeah, Queens. I was going to say Queens Plaza, but Queens, especially, no, more specifically, Court Square 23rd Street. And then after that, Queens Plaza. Once we were at Queens Plaza, not slightly overweight, an obese woman comes in. She walks in the train, sits next to me. There's a small spot between me and another individual, a small spot on the seat. She decides to sit there, and I was sandwiched between her on my left and the poles/handrail on my right. It was so uncomfortable. I was like this is her and this is the poles. I was like, come on, man, when's the next station coming? It's taking a long time because the Queens Boulevard line is a huge line. There's a lot of local stations between, let's say, yeah, between Queens Plaza and Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue. That's a lot. There are a lot of local stations that we bypass. But between Forest Hill 71st Avenue and Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue, excuse me, the gap is so huge. There's a lot of local stations. It's a nightmare. Anyways, Jackson Heights finally comes. I'm like, oh, thank God, I can finally get to Flushing now. I walk all the way upstairs to 74th Street Broadway because that's where the 7 train is. Uptown 7 trains were running normally, local service of course, but downtown 7 trains were running express between Metz Willets Point and Queensboro Plaza because of construction between Junction Boulevard and 90th Street Elmhurst Avenue. And then there's more construction between Woodside 61st Street and 52nd Street Lincoln, I don't know, 52nd Street Lincoln something. Anyways, so because of that, they decided to make the 7th circle into a diamond since it was going to bypass all the local stops. It would only stop at Metz Willets Point, Junction Boulevard, Woodside 61st Street, and Queensboro Plaza. So they just they made all the R188 trains, all the 7 trains sport a diamond, and on the side it would say Flushing Express. So I was like, okay, I'm down with that. Within 4 minutes, I don't know why. The next Uptown 7 train came. I sat down. I decided to indulge on my chicken and cheese sandwich because I was really hungry. I didn't want to have headaches the rest of the day because whenever I get really hungry, whenever I go on these Railfanning excursions, I get the most unbearable headaches because I don't eat enough or drink enough water, and that's a problem. So, anyways, I get to I get on the 7 train. I sit down. I eat some sandwich. And I eat some sandwich. I eat like a few bites out of my sandwich, and then there's a guy who's sitting in front of me as I'm eating my sandwich. He's giving me weird looks, like what the hell are you looking at, man? Why are you looking at me? You shouldn't be looking at me, but I don't know why I said you shouldn't be looking at me, but it's kind of creepy when somebody stares at you. It's like he was staring me down while I was eating my sandwich. Like, come on, dude. It's a sandwich. It's nothing new. It's chicken and cheese. All you have to do is buy some chicken buy some rotisserie chicken, shred it up, put some put some Kraft American cheese on it, and you got yourself a chicken and cheese sandwich. It's nothing. It's not rocket science. I was gonna say it's nothing new. I don't know why. I'm not on a roll today. I can't talk. So, my initial plan was to film the R62A 7 train running express from Maxwell's Point to Queensboro Plaza. However, right after we departed 111th Street, I saw at 111th Street, I saw Corona Yard. I saw both R62A trains were sitting in the yard. So I was like, well, there goes my plan. There goes my plans. Oh, looks like I have to do a slight change of plans. So I had to improvise a little bit. I had to film an R188 now because both R62As were sitting in the yard. And there's a slight possibility that they converted the half cabs into full cabs. Jabronis. The jabronis at Corona Yard, man, they will pay. They will pay. Nah, just kidding. Anyways, I get to Flushing Main Street, and I was in the last car on the 7 train, so the last car becomes the first car. I don't have to walk as far, which is a good thing. Within 2 or 3 minutes, the next 7 train rolls in. I wanted to film the 7 train arriving into the station and then departing the station. I don't know, that's how I do my videos. So, at around, let's say, I think around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not entirely sure, the 7 train I was on departs. It turned into the Diamond 7 train, and we were on track 2. It's track 1, track M, track 2. Track 1 and M are usually the express trains, and track 2 is usually local trains only. So since they were working on the local track at Maxwell's Point, right as we were departing Flushing Main Street, we switched right to the express track right away, just like that. So that means I could experience arriving into Maxwell's Point on the express track, which means that we had to open on the doors on the left side. So right after we departed, we went up the hill and stuff like that. And wherever there was construction workers, the train operator always blew the horn. I guess he was horn happy, but unfortunately, it was not a high frequency horn. I like the high frequency horns better than the regular ones, but the high frequency horns are more frequent on the converted sets, meaning the trains that were the R142As that used to be on the 6th line, but now they're R188s. Those are where the high frequency horns are the most common. So, pretty much the entire ride was fun, I guess. The PA system was actually broken, so whenever the doors would close, what's it called? The door chime. The door chime would always sound like really, really, really loud, but whenever the conductor had to deliver an announcement, you couldn't hear a single thing. I couldn't hear whatever she was saying, and I knew it was a she. I could hear just a faint sound of her talking, but I could not hear what she was saying clearly. Looks like they have to they have to fix the speakers on that train. Anyways, after that, we reached Queensboro Plaza. I decided to take the N train to go to 59th Street in order to take the 4, 5, or 6 train to travel on Lexington Avenue. I would have stayed on the 7 all the way to Grand Central, but it would be Court Square, Hunters Point Avenue, Vernon Boulevard, Jackson Avenue, then 5 minutes in the Steinway Tunnel, and then Grand Central 42nd Street. But I would be one express station south of 59th. So I decided, why not just go to 59th? So I got off the 7 train, I took the N train, so it would only be 5 minutes in the 60th Street Tunnel, which is not as bad. So I took the N train, and train operator wasn't very fast. He actually operated the train rather slow through the tunnel. The W train, the W train operator was a lot better. I've actually filmed the video about it. It's on my channel. He's a lot better. He's a lot faster too, and I really liked him. Not this guy, not so much. But like I said, at least he got me to 59th Street on time. That's what really matters. And I got to hear the announcement. Free transfers also available to the F and Q trains by walking to the Lexington Avenue 63rd Street station and using your Metro card. And I usually don't hear that announcement on YouTube because some of the trains, the announcements aren't updated, number one. And number two, not everybody posted a video of the announcements on YouTube because, I don't know, they just didn't feel like it maybe. But that's not important. After I get off the N train at 59th Street, I walk all the way downstairs to the lowest level to the Lexington Avenue platforms, the express platforms, so I could take the 5 train to go to Wakefield. 5 train arrives within 2 minutes. I get on. I sit on it for at least 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes. I sit on it. I get comfortable. I was actually standing for at least 2 or 3 minutes until we reached 86th. And then a guy walks out of the train with his shoes untied. So then one of the guys sitting down, he tries to warn him that his shoes were untied. Then he asked me to warn him. Then I was like, what the hell are you talking about, man? And of course I was like, oh, his shoes untied. After I saw him, he was pointing. The guy who was warning the untied shoes guy that his shoes were untied, he pointed over there, and I was like, oh. And I turned around and I saw his shoes were untied. Oh, that's what he meant. Oh, silly me. So I just sit down anyways. There's no point in dwelling on the past. I sit down, and once we reach 125th, I'm like, maybe that Catherine, I don't know what her last name is. Maybe that announcement's there. The announcement where she goes, 138th Street Grand Concourse. One of the announcers does that on another set on a Wakefield bound 5 train. I forgot what the announcer's name was, but the train I was on had Jessica Tinger's voice say 138th Street Grand Concourse. Right as right after she said the next stop is, and the doors were open. And it was actually, I really enjoy watching the 5 train depart 125th. You know, it switches tracks to get to the 138th Street Grand Concourse, because there's 2 tracks to 3rd Avenue 138th, and 1 track goes to 138th Street Grand Concourse. So we went on that track, and after we depart 138th, we take that really sharp turn, and I actually, honestly, yeah, it sounds really loud, but I really enjoy taking that sharp turn in order to lead from 138th Street Grand Concourse to the lower level, or the White Plains Road platform at 149th Street Grand Concourse. So, pretty much nothing really happens. I sit down, I enjoy my sandwich, the rest of my sandwich, while this girl's sitting in front of me listening to her music. And fast forward all the way to, let's say, Gun Hill Road. There's this guy on the phone. He probably thinks I was looking at him because I was trying to look at the time, because I don't want to waste battery on my phone. I needed all the battery I could get to film the 5 train from Wakefield 241st to East 180th. So I was like, dude, why are you looking at me? I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the clock. I didn't really say that to him. That's what I said in my mind. Anyways, we reached 241st Street. I get off, walk all the way to the front, wait for another 5 train to arrive so I could film the announcement where Bernie Wagenblast goes, "This 5 train is not in service. This is the last stop on this train." And I actually was successful at it. So I decided to take the 5 train that I arrived in at the station. I decided to take that back to East 180th. But before I mention that trip, I want to mention we slowed down a lot. We were really slow when we arrived into Nereid Avenue. That was because, what was I going to say? That's because there were construction workers between, you know, on the yard tracks and the flyover track to Wakefield. And right when I was looking out, the train operator bangs on the window. I don't know why she banged on the window. She probably thought I was filming, but I wasn't. I was just looking out, honestly. So yeah, that was it from that. And then while I'm trying to film the announcements on the 5 train, I had to hide the camera because I didn't want anybody giving me a hard time. However, the announcements weren't there, so that was all for nothing. We departed the station. We arrived slow into Narita Avenue. And yeah, like I said, it was a somewhat slow trip. Because of the construction at the Clark Street tunnels, uptown 2 and 5 trains were running in, I don't know, different directions. 5 trains were running to 241st Street, and 2 trains were going to East Chester Dye Avenue. So 2 trains were running between East Chester Dye Avenue and East 180th, then East 180th Street to Rector Street. But the 5 train, though, was running from Wakefield 241st Street to East 180th Street, then East 180th Street to Flatbush Avenue, Brooklyn College. Of course, via Lexington. It would have to take the Lexington curve in order to get the 149th Street curve to get to Lexington. And then, yeah, pretty much then it gets on Lexington, runs express in Manhattan, then runs local in Brooklyn. So I get on the 5 train, fast forward all the way to East 180th. I waited at least 7 minutes for another 2 train to arrive to take me to Rector Street. You get off at Times Square. And that was because I had to film the train from Times Square, switching to the local track, and then all the way from 34th Street Penn Station to South Ferry, Rector Street. So right now, as we speak, Rector Street is no longer the last stop for weekend 2 trains. Now it's South Ferry, which is a good thing because now I can film. Now the South Ferry station can accommodate 10-car trains. I know I'm probably boring you guys to sleep. I'm sorry about that. My stories are getting a lot longer now. I really am sorry. Pretty much throughout the entire 2 train trip from East 180 to Times Square, the train got significantly crowded. Significantly more crowded than it was before. That was because there were a bunch of college students. There were a bunch of, I don't know, bunch of girls and stuff. They wanted to hang out in Times Square, something like that. Let me tell you something. There's this one girl, man, oh man. It was like, I don't know, it was like a party for my eyes. And like I said, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest about it. I know people are gonna be like, ooh, you don't respect them. You're looking at them and stuff. Well, that's me being honest. And all I'm doing is looking. I didn't walk up to him and be like, hey, you want to hang out or something like that. I didn't do that. I just looked. So what? Who cares? Okay, so I get off at Times Square, and since 3 trains were running between Harlem 148th and 14th Street, they were running express. 2 trains switched to the local track at 34th Street Penn Station. So I waited for the next 2 train. Pretty much that 2 train took me all the way to around 18th Street. I pulled up, I recorded the speakers of that 2 train so you could hear the announcements. This is a Rector Street bound 2 train. Next stop is stand clear of the closing doors. And then fast forward all the way to Rector Street. I get to Rector Street safely, yes. And then the 2 train depart. I get off the 2 train because I don't want the conductor to be like, hey, why you on this train, man? So I decided to get off. The 2 train departs the station. And I was like, oh boy, no, that's not what happened yet. I wait for 1 train to take me to the South Ferry loop so I could do some filming. And the first time, the 1 train screwed up the first 1 train video was a complete screw up. Because as I was filming the 1 train, switching from the straight track all the way to the track going upwards to the South Ferry loop, my camera blurred out completely. So I had to stop filming in the middle. Once we reached South Ferry, I just decided to stay on until Rector because Chambers is way too far. And Cortland, of course, is shut down, so I wait till Rector. A bunch of people start moving into the train right after the gap filler extends out. And then this somewhat really nice family enters the train. Well, of course, they didn't talk to me. They were talking to each other. I just said it was a nice family. I don't know why, but this is what happens. Right as the train was departing the station, the train operator decides to blare the horn a lot. And then it's like, I don't know, this was really weird for me to listen to. It's like, as the train was blaring its horn, they're like, ooh, Jimmy, did you do that? I don't really know. I don't remember the kid's name. We're just gonna call him Jimmy for now. It's like they were pretending that the train's horns were the kid's farts. And I was like, okay, that's a little immature. I know it's a joke, obviously, but it's a little immature, don't you think? For adults to be joking around with children like that, it's a little childish. So this is what, every single time the train horn blared, they're like, oh, did you do that? Oh, Jimmy, stop it. And I was like, what the hell are these parents doing? How immature can they get? How childish are they? And I was like, oh, I hope we get to Rector soon so I can get off this train. As I was thinking that, we arrived into Rector Street. I had to get up. I got off, and I thought, thinking very stupidly, I assumed that there would be a crossover or a cross under at Rector Street. Turns out I was wrong. As I walked up the steps, there was only an exit. The turnstiles and the exit only. That's it. No crossover, no cross under. So I was like, oh, I don't even have an unlimited ticket. I didn't have an unlimited Metro card. It was limited. I only had like, what, $6 in it? So I had to get out from underground in order to get back downtown so I could do my video all over again. So I look all around like an idiot. I go to the Broadway section. I see Rector Street. I was like, nah, that's probably the that's R and W, which means that's Broadway. So I walk back. I see a construction worker, MTA construction worker. I ask him, excuse me, do you know where the hold on, where was I? I was said, excuse me, do you know where the Rector Street station is for the 1 train? And he's like, yeah, it's over there. And I'm like, thank you. And of course, I didn't notice. I was too busy looking around to pay attention. And then I finally see it. And then I don't know why, I still walk that way, thinking that there was another exit, the front exit. And then the guy's like, it's right over there. Like, dude, I heard you the first time. You don't have to repeat it. I saw you pointing to the station. You don't have to repeat it. So I just walked to the station. That's the back entrance. I walk down. 1 train already arrives. So I was like, oh, I missed the 1 train, so I have to wait for another one. Around 5 or 10 minutes later, first the 2 train came to drop off all the passengers at Rector Street. Then the 1 train comes. I record it arriving in. And then as we were departing, the train operator blares its horn a few times. The train's horn. And then he sees me filming, because R62A, it's really easy to make out if somebody's filming or not. And then I think he taps the glass a little bit, and then he hangs his coat on the rack to obstruct my view. Too bad, dude. That didn't work. You just stopped while the light was green and yellow. Excuse me, meaning you had to switch tracks. You just stopped to obstruct my view. But it didn't work. It was a little bit difficult to film, though. You did make it difficult, but you didn't make it impossible, which is a good thing. Anyways, I get off at Rector because I keep saying Rector. I got off at the South Ferry loop because I had to do some filming of the 2 trains bypassing the station and the 1 train's stopping there. And while I was there, a woman decided to tell her daughter about how South Ferry loop accommodates only 5-car trains. The first 5 cars only, doors will open. And it really warmed my heart to see another fellow subway enthusiast. And then after I was done filming, I was at the verge of pretty much finishing my video. A 2 train comes in with a circle and a diamond bullet. It must have been a glitch, of course, but I was like, ooh, it's a diamond a diamond 2 train, which means it's semi-super express. It was just a little joke of mine. Of course, I didn't really mean it. And the R62A 1 train that I caught in the video happened to have a 10 bullet somewhere between cars 8 and cars 9. I don't know what the exact car numbers was, but it was the 8th car and the 9th car. I saw the number 10. I was like, oh shoot, I'm glad I actually got that. That's actually pretty cool. A 10 train. Who would have thought? Yeah, I know the 10 train doesn't really exist. And then my 1 train arrives, so I can take it to go back to Rector Street. It was the most crowded, uncomfortable car. It felt like a cattle car, similar to how, not similar. I was going to make a comparison, but I forget what I was going to compare it to. Anyways, I get squeezed all the way to the Railfan window. I mean, it's okay. My view wasn't obstructed. But still, as the doors were closing, people still decided to squeeze into the train. Like, come on, there's another train. Take the next train. That's all there is to it. So, once I was at Rector Street, I realized I had enough. I had to get off that train. So, this is what I said. I was like, excuse me, and I realized I didn't say it really loud. And then I said, excuse me, with a much louder voice. The girl behind me, she's like, oh, he gotta go. And yeah, I do gotta go. So they moved out of the way, and I just walked off that train. Because damn, how many people are gonna be in one train at a time? So I wait for the next one train to come. I get on that, slightly less crowded, which, okay, that's better. I took that same one train to 14th Street, 14th Street, 7th Avenue. I walk all the way to 6th Avenue so I could take the F train to go to West 4th Street, Washington Square. But I could have done this. Instead, I could have taken the L train to go to 14th Street, Union Square, so I could take the 4 or 5 to go to Fulton, then take the A or the C to take me back to Penn Station. But no, being the stupid idiot that I am, I decided to take the F train. And I waited for at least 10 minutes, and while I was there, a guy was spitting peanuts all over the tracks because there was no trash can nearby. Like, come on, if those nuts had hit the third rail, there would have been no F train at all for you. So please watch where you're spitting your nuts, dude. That sounded kind of funny. And anyways, while I was watching the guy, a woman walks up to me. She's like a petite woman, kind of good looking, but yeah, she was really small. She walks up to me, she says, excuse me, do you know how to get to the PAT train? And initially, because I didn't know, I was new at that station, 14th Street, 6th Avenue. She's like, no. I said to her, oh no, I don't know, I'm sorry. And then I remembered, I saw the steps, New Jersey PAT train. And I was like, oh, you can take those steps right there. Those will take you to the PAT trains. And she's like, thank you. Just keep and then I said, just keep walking up those steps all the way. Follow the PAT sign. Take a look at the signs. You'll find the PAT train. And she says, thank you, with a much louder voice. And of course, it was a kind manner too. It wasn't very annoyed. It was more kind. And I was like, you're welcome. Finally, 10 minutes later, I was walking back and forth. I was going to take the L train to go to Fulton. But right at that moment, the F train decides to come. And again, the platform was really crowded, so I decided to take the F train to West 4th Street, Washington Square. I get off there. I walk all the way upstairs to the 8th Avenue platforms. Another guy walks up to me, and he's like, excuse me, do you know how to get to 14th Street? And of course, I was confused. I was like, what? 14th Street, 6th Avenue or 8th Avenue? Then he said 8th Avenue. Oh, you have to. And then I said, oh, you have to go onto the other platform and then take an A, C, or E train. But since you want to get to 14th Street, I suggest you take the A train because it's express. And he's like, is this the downtown platform? I mean, is this the platform to 14th Street? And I said, no, because this is the downtown platform. You have to take go to the other platform in order to take the A train to go to 14th Street. And he's like, okay, thank you. And I was like, you're welcome. He had long hair. I think he was LGBTQ because of the rainbow flag he had. And just, I don't know, just the way he was dressed, I could tell. So I walk all the way to the other side so I can take the A train. A train comes within 5 minutes, arrives in pretty fast, which is a good arrival. I get on the A train. The conductor says, ladies and gentlemen, do not hold the doors. Take the next train. Do not hold the doors. And I could tell he was fed up because idiots always hold the doors just to squeeze in, as if that was the last ever train to go to a specific destination. Just wait for the next train. Take the next train. That's all there is to it. I get on. Around 14th Street, the conductor tries to close the doors. An idiot's trying to squeeze it in some other car. And the conductor yells with a louder voice. He's like, release the doors. And yeah, like I said, I could tell he was having enough. Because of the crowd that was going on, people walking back and forth, holding the doors, conductor must have had enough. So yeah, I understand his frustration. So we finally reached 34th Street Penn Station. I get off the A train. There were all these men and women wearing feathered costumes, short shorts. The women, of course, were wearing bras. Men were not, and I don't know, it was kind of weird seeing those guys wearing all those all the feminine clothing. But I guess that's fine. If you're trying to make money, go for it. So I decided to get off that train. I mean, I walked really fast away from those people. I was like, Jesus, because they were hogging up the entire stairs. So I just walked as fast as I could down those steps to the left. Then I saw, oh no, this is not the right way to my train, because I was heading towards the Long Island Railroad. So I walked back. Then finally, I see my train. I wait for at least 10 or 15 minutes for my train to the track number to appear on the departure board. Then I saw 12 West. So I decided to go to 12. Well, I decided to go to 12 West. I head directly. I make a beeline for 12 West. I take the train, and then I came back here. So yeah, guys, I'm sorry that the story is over 40 minutes long, but what can I say? I tell really long stories. Anyways, people, thank you so much for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll make more story time videos soon. Anyways, people, that's it. Take care. Have a great day, and enjoy the rest of your summer.